What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Understanding the Reason. I'm your host, Jerome Majette. Man, I'm so excited for our study today. Man, I've been waiting for this one. We've been talking about, why are we here? Why did God, who is a spirit, which means he's eternal, create physical, temporary matter? And more importantly, we've been asking three questions. Why are we here? What is our purpose? And what happens next? And so we've been looking at my book. It took me 18 years to write it. Understanding the Reason God Made Man, what made him do it. What I did was I was confronted by a coworker who didn't believe in God. And he told me straight up, man, listen, I just don't get it. I don't see how or why God would create a human being. If he created everything, why would he create a human being to destroy everything? So I didn't have an answer for him. And so I went home, opened up my Bible, got my concordance, opened up my computer, and just started asking questions. And so we're going to talk about what's happening in our book. We've been reading through it. In fact, this is chapter 4. So we came from chapter 3 and concluded our 6 days of creation, and now we're kind of going through the chapter to really get an understanding of why did God create us. Okay, so the topic is, who is man? Where did we come from? Okay, so we've been talking about that. And before we do, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and help me celebrate. I just want to show some love to my brother, Andre, and my sister-in-law, Tam. Man, they have just been phenomenal. My family has to always put up with me. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm always asking questions, looking at stuff, and running stuff by them, and my brother has to endure. So much love to my family. I love you guys, man. Andre, Tam, appreciate y'all very much, man, for listening to me. Anyway, let's get into our study. So I want to do something called Did You Know? I hope this goes over well. I didn't know how it was, but here we go, right? So we've been looking at what science has been saying about who we are, where we come from, right? So one of the things that they're I guess wanting us to accept is that we came from a long process of evolution through natural selection, right? So we started off, in some cases you'll hear two different ideas. One is we were single-celled like an amoeba, and then we turned into some kind of water creature, and then from there we kicked our gills off so we can breathe and have lungs, and then we got rid of our fins so we can have appendages, arms and legs and so forth, right? And then eventually we became an ape, and then eventually became, who we are, right? But does science really tell us the actual truth of this thing? Or does scripture tell us the truth? Because scripture says something totally different. The scripture tells us that we were made in the image of God, in his likeness, right? So what does that mean? That means that we are spirits like he is. Like this thing right here, this body, this thing right here is designed to go back to the elements from which it came. Because God said, from dust you were made, or from the ground you came, or from the ground you were taken, from the ground you were created, right? And to the ground you'll go back, right? So we've been talking about that in our last video, man. If you haven't checked that out, it is fire, right? It's fire. So go ahead and get that, check it out. But let's talk about did you know? Okay, so in biology there is a theory that's called homology. So did you know that homology suggests that just because a human hand or a dog's paw or a bird's wing or a whale's fin have the same type of structural elements, that they originated from a single source, right? So that's where this evolutionary tree comes from. This idea that this tree has one source, and then it branches off into all these different, species and so forth, and then you have this complete tree of various animals and us, right, mixed in there. Well, that's not what scripture says. The scripture teaches us that when God made us, he created kinds, right? So what homology does for me is it literally confirms that, right? It confirms that, like, for example, if you have a domestic dog, right? Domestic dogs, they come from, right, wolves, right? This is what they've been able to determine scientifically and biologically, right? So, but is a domestic dog a wolf? No, no, no. A domestic dog is the same kind, right? So when God created the kinds, each kind suggests that this kind went this way, this kind went this way, our kind went this way. So the apes went this way, gorillas went this way. So the same kinds is how God did it. And just because there is a structural similarity doesn't mean that it's of the same origin. Does that make sense? It's sort of like a skyscraper and a single family home, right? So you have, if you know anybody that's engineer or a draftsman or anything like that, they'll tell you that there's certain structures that you just can't get away from when you're building a house, right? The same structures are present in a single family home as it would be in a skyscraper, right? But here's the deal. Just because those structures are the same doesn't mean that these two things are the same. They're not. You can look at a skyscraper and you can say, oh, whoa, that's a skyscraper. In a family home, you're right, a single family home is what it is. So why are we looking at this? First of all, number one, why is this important? It's important because we have to understand, who are we? Why did God create us? Right? And it just appears, and I'm just saying this, right? It just appears that there is this effort to diminish what scripture says, as if science itself is a religious ideology or something, right? That's trying to say that the creator doesn't exist, right? But at the same time, a lot of things in science are confirming what we already know. Right? Give you an example, right? Here's something that said. I'm gonna read a little bit out of my book here, right? So there is, and I'm sure you guys probably seen these drawings of, the ape creature evolving into a human being. I'm sure you guys have seen that before. Well, that sketching was printed in a book titled Early Man, which was printed back in 1968, and it was written by University of California, Berkeley professor F. Clark Howell. Now, this is a sketch that's actually used to bolster the idea that evolution is how we got here. No, man. Listen, the scripture says that when God created us, he gave us the ability to be sovereign over all the works of his hands, right? And he used a law called the law of transference. The law of transference is a law that stipulates that what belongs to your father, like let's say your dad, became a multi-billionaire, trillionaire, right? Well, upon his passing, he's probably set up some type of will or some type of structure, trust fund or something, so that what was his now is transferred legally to you. So the law of transference teaches or suggests, in fact, it tells us that what belongs to God was transferred to us. What belonged to him? Sovereignty over all the works of his hands. Well, we're going to get more, man. We're going to get deep into this thing. I love talking about this. Please come back. Bring somebody with you so we can break this thing down and understand, why are we here? what is our purpose and what happens next, man. So thank you so much for coming. Also, if you guys would do me a favor, pick up my book, Understanding the Reason God Made Man, What Made Him Do It. 18 years of study here, man. It's a great resource if you're looking to answer those questions, okay? And it's a great gift for somebody who is struggling with understanding these things, right? Also, if you pick the book up and you pick up one of my shirts, send me a selfie over on Facebook Messenger, and we're gonna shout you out. So please stick around. Please stick around and help me shout out the next person that we selected, okay? Love you guys sincerely. Thank you so much again for tuning in. God bless y'all, man. Peace.